So last time, just to recap, we covered the basics of Python and we also delved into the lexical structure of the language. And then after that, we delved a little bit into data types, specifically the numerical ones, so integers and floats. So to summarize, we've got basically the interpreter, right? And you know what version you're in, you know that you're in the interpreter. You know that if you type something that Python doesn't like, it starts to cry. But if you type something that Python does understand, then it will return exactly what you've provided it. Integers, floating points, you can add integers together, you can add floating points together, you can add an integer and a floating point. You can also subtract them, you can multiply them, and you can indeed divide them. So Python's quite versatile like that. You can do a lot of things just in maths alone. BODMAS is also a thing. If I just you can write comments. Recap of episode 1. So you can apply BODMAS, so you can do x equals 4 and then x to the power of 2 plus 91 divided by 56, and then wrap all of that in parentheses, divided by 2 times x, and wrap that in parentheses, and that will give you a valid answer. It won't throw an error. So just to really kind of dumb it down for you, Python is basically just one big calculator if you wanted to use it in that format. So that's a good sort of beginning structure, and obviously as I demonstrated here, you can set variables and whatnot. So yeah, that's Python for you from a calculator standpoint. We also discussed very briefly that you can force a data type as well. So 3.24 is a floating point. You know that if you do 3.24, it gives you a class of float. However, I can force it to be an integer by doing this, and what it does is it rounds it down. That's what it does. You can do the same thing if you wrap it around exclamation marks, but before I do that, I just want to show you what the type is. It's a string, which is not a numerical data type whatsoever. That's actually just plain text. However, so I can demonstrate that further if I just do that. That's also a class of a string because Python recognizes that as a piece of text. However, if I attempt to force this to become a floating point, then it will actually succeed in doing that, and we can validate that by doing this, and indeed, even though the type of 3.24 wrapped in exclamation marks is a string, if I force it, if I override the data type and force it to become a floating point, it will become 3.24, and we validate that by wrapping that floating overriding by the type function, built-in function, and it basically returns a floating point, so as a data type. So you can convert data types not only from an int to a float and a float to an int, float to int being that it kind of floors it, in other words rounds it down, but you can also convert a string format of a floating point into an actual floating point number. However, we also, and I found this out by accident in the last episode actually, it came up as an error, and I was really curious about it, but you can do this, right? We've established that, but we can't do this. and I've always found that quite peculiar. Let's actually look that up. Why can I convert a string to a float but not to int? And let's see what comes up. In cases where the string represents a number with a decimal point, it would be inappropriate or an error, so you can there. But why? Okay, we get that. Oh, it doesn't tell you, does it? Ah, but okay. So, I mean, it makes sense. If you sort of really want to do it, you'd have to convert it into a float first and then into an integer. And then, of course, that would work because we know that you can convert a floating point-esque looking string into a floating point sort of number. We've demonstrated that here. But then, if we can do this, then we can definitely do this because you can convert a real float to an int. You can't convert a floating looking string to an int, but it's just interesting. But this is the messing around with Python series, and I'm explaining this all, but I'm not the grand master of Python, right? So if I want to find out something, then this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it along with you guys. But yeah, that's a kind of overarching summary. Another thing that I did by accident in the last episode that I just want to confirm, I didn't mention this explicitly, but I just want to cover this very briefly. If I do x equals 4, right, and then you press enter, it goes into a new line. And I mentioned something about multi-lines where if true, as an example, it does x equals 3 print I chose not to go out today, and then kind of that, right? And you press enter, and then it allows you to do multi-line. You don't. Another way you can invoke a multi-line is if you do, say, x equals 4, and then do this, right? This backward slash actually tells Python that you want to do a multi-line, and then as you can see, it actually turns into a 3-dot kind of entry, syntaxy design there. So you can actually do multi-line stuff. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes if a line, let's say, it may not work here, but I'm just gonna quickly show you. Let's just preface this with multi-line randomness. So let's say I do np dot import. Ignore what I'm about to do, but I'm just going to show you import numpy as np, and then let's say np dot random dot randint low equals np dot random dot uniform, and then let's zoom out to low equals 2, high equals 150, and then high equals np dot rand. You get my point, right? This is an example, like this is a valid Python line, right? But it's a super long line. Now, granted, there are shorter ways you can do this. You can break it up into variables, but let's just say, for argument's sake, you're forced, your hands are tied, you have to write a super long piece of Python code. Well, you could, I mean, yeah, you could do this, and then kind of do your code there, but let's just say you had to do that, right? Let's say you have a random piece of code here. You can actually do this, and then continue the line of code here, do this, and then continue the line of code there, and then, so on and so forth. So just to kind of drive that point home, I'm not doing the best of explaining it, but basically Python's quite versatile, and certain special characters can be used to kind of tweak the code to look exactly how you want it to look. And one would ask, why would you want to do that? Why don't you just let the line go on forever and ever and ever? Why do you have to consider multi-lines? Can we not just keep it simple and just, one line, you do everything and everything gets wrapped in that one line? Well, there's a little thing called pep8, line length limit, and here it actually tells you that the pep8 standard, which is like the kind of Python standard of what is considered to be clean code, acceptable code in the eyes of the Python community and the general programming community, is that 79 characters is the maximum line length. When you are sort of writing code, if the line width goes longer than 79 characters specifically, then the idea is that you should probably break it up into multiple lines, and that is where there are many methods that you could do to write multiple line code, but if none of those work and there's no other option, then this helps basically. So yeah, that's the little kind of appendix to the last episode. We're already at 11 minutes in, and all I've done is just recap the last episode. Let's move on to today's kind of topic, which is the text. So yesterday we looked at floating points, or not yesterday but last lesson. Now we're going to look at sort of strings. So spam eggs, this is a string, guys. So type of spam eggs gives you a string, class of a string. Now I use exclamation marks, but you can use double quotes. So spam eggs also gives spam eggs also gives you a string value, and if I do type of spam eggs, then that also gives you a string value. Now in the last episode I actually had an error thrown, and I told you that I wouldn't explain why that error was thrown, but now I'm going to explain. So the reason why we have two methods of creating a string, exclamation marks and double quotes, is because what if I wanted to do oh no, it's just Amen. Do you see what I did there? This is an exclamation mark, and in the eyes of Python, when you are wrapping a string in exclamation marks, the string ends after the second exclamation mark. So if you have chosen an exclamation mark to be your string wrapper, and then you write, oh my god, it's just Amen, it's gonna throw an error, right? Because in the eyes of Python, this is the string, ladies and gentlemen, and this stuff is foreign to Python, right? It has no idea what's going on here, okay? Which is troublesome, because there will be many cases where you will want to include apostrophes in your code when you're writing strings or string values. And so a good way to sort of overcome that is by wrapping the string with the alternative method depending on how you are formatting your string. So let's say, for instance, you know that there's going to be an apostrophe in your code, then you're going to be doing, oh my god, it's just Carl from The Walking Dead. So that will work, because you've kind of you've enabled the string to be able to use these apostrophes, and these exclamation marks are kind of wrapping that accordingly. Alternatively, if you wanted to add sort of, say, a movie quote, let's say you're kind of analyzing a novel as part of a natural language processing thing that's going to feed into the next big ChatGPT, for instance, then you could sort of include those exclamation marks and say, and he then said, you shall not pass. Okay, and because you are there is a context where you need those double exclamation marks, then you have the apostrophes wrapping around that big fat string, and that will work. So those are the instances where if you need to use textual data and that data includes an apostrophe or exclamation marks accordingly, then that's the best way to do it. Now, I'm just messing about here. What if you wanted to do both? What if there was no way out and you just had to use both, right? So what if I wanted to do, and so the conductor's son said, "Oi, don't go there." Right? This is messed up because we now have a situation where we need both. We need an exclamation mark and double quotes, which is just insane. Like, that is going to throw an error. How are you going to fix that? I spent the past flipping 5 minutes with my stupid digressing way of talking that you can use double quotes for wrapping around a string that may include an apostrophe, and you can use apostrophes to wrap a string that may require double quotes. But what if you need both, right? It's crazy. It's like, what are you going to do? So this actually nicely leads into this next part here, and that is special characters. So when it comes to, this isn't unique to Python, this is actually just tech or programming in general, but when it comes to string values, they're generally encoded. The modern way is UTF-8, which is like the modern encoding system. Let's actually just look this up just to really drive this home. Such as UTF-8. I'm just going on Wikipedia because we know that that's open source for everyone. I wish I could. I'm joking, I'm not that broke. So we've got UTF-8 is a character encoding standard used for electronic communications, 5-byte Unicode standard, 8-bit, yep. We got all that stuff. Like ASCII used to be it. So you may have seen ASCII around. That's basically like, a certain number of characters that was allowed by the amount of bytes or something. I don't know. I know this, but it's like 11:45 p.m. and my brain is running at like 25% capacity. So as part of the ISO standard, we've included UTF-8 character encodings, but this is just to give you an idea. If you really wanted to delve into literally any piece of knowledge that I impart on you in this series, then you can go away and sort of figure it out for yourself and go as deep as your curiosity allows you. If I took every opportunity to follow my curiosity, I'd never get anything done. So it's a struggle of life, but I've limited my understanding of this to what I needed, which is that UTF-8 is the standard, and that also enables special characters, which, digression over, is the point of this whole point. Jesus. Right, so what is a special character? A special character can be prefixed with this, right? So if I take this and I do this and this, right? Remember how I said that you can't do this. That isn't going to work. Or let me actually give a real example. Let's zoom in, clear, special characters. So let's say, the conductor's son, right? That's not going to work. But this will work. Wait, what? The conductor's son. Yeah, this isn't going to work, but this will work. Do you see what I mean? Because you've prefixed the apostrophe with the backward slash, and what that effectively means is you're effectively telling the compiler, you're telling code, you're telling your machine that please don't take this literally, right? Take it for what it is, not for what it can represent, if that makes sense. It's like, there are others, by the way. There's a whole bunch of them. You can also do it for the others. So and so she said, leave me alone, and then suffix that with this, and then do this, and that will work, because you're telling Python, like, I know that we use these to wrap it in a string, but leave these alone, this is intentional. And so that's kind of how you do it. There are other ones, like one that comes to mind is if I build on this string and I do backward slash n, and then I go and then I do backward slash again, and then do this, no, you're mine, he sneered, right? Wait, what? Why is it not working? It's meant to give me a new line, you dummy. Huh? Boy. There's something wrong with this, hold on. CD documents ls clear ls, wait, hold on, I'm just sorting something out. Make the temp cd temp, and then touch main.py vim main.py. Okay, cool. Let's see if it works here. Print hello, goodbye. Sorry, I'm just trying something out here. And then python I vim.py. Oh wait, sorry. Python I main.py. Okay, so it works like this, but it doesn't work. Okay, so basically what I was trying to demonstrate doesn't seem to work in the interpreter for some reason, but it works when I actually open up a Python file and I sort of write it there. But effectively, how do I do this? Wait, quit, clear, tmux, right, vim main.py, and then here I'm gonna python I main.py. Okay, this works. Okay, so sorry about that. Basically, let's continue here, and actually this is probably a better setup because it color codes here as well, which is nifty. So basically here backward slash n stands for a new line character, and what it basically means is you're basically telling Python to press enter and like start a new line and then continue the string that way. So even though I've done this string as a single line of code, right, but because of this backward slash n here, it actually when you run the Python code, it actually does hello, which is here, and then it does the new line, and then prints out goodbye underneath. It's one print. This is one print function. Don't get this confused and think that this is doing one thing and this is doing another. No, it's one execution. But because part of the string includes a new line special character, it actually knows to log everything that comes afterwards under a new line. I can do this a couple of times. So if I just do quit and then go out here and then do this and do another backslash and then hello again. Actually, let's do this, right, just to really sort of drive this home. So if I do this, what I've done here is hello, goodbye, right? Hello, new line, goodbye, new line again, hello again. And you see that here there's a new line, right? Hello, goodbye, new line. And then because I've done two new lines, it actually goes here and then here and then hello again, right? So special characters aren't just a one-time thing. You can do them multiple times. What other special characters are there? Oops, that was a mistake. Let's have a look. Let's do special characters, symbols, list of Unicode characters. I always get fun. Wikipedia. Okay, maybe not. Wait, what? Here. Actually, yeah, I'm curious. Bell character. Let's try that. What if we do print and then this and then this, and then let's see what that gives us. Unicode escape code that can't decode bytes in. Okay, this is out of the scope of what we're trying to do here, so I'll deal with that another time. Let's do like normal escape character, special characters. Yeah, okay. So let's say I wanted to do this. I wonder what that does. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do, let's try Python string. Maybe that's better. Oh yeah, I guess the actual backslash itself. I mean, if I do this, right, Python automatically knows that that's a backslash, and so if I do this and this and this, yeah, that's actually a good one. So basically, that's actually a really good example. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to do a backslash, but you wanted the backslash itself in the string. The backslash actually precedes this apostrophe, and now because the apostrophe comes after this backslash, you're now left with an invalid string, because it now thinks that all of this is the string. Do you see what I mean? Because remember, the backslash is instigates a special character. Any character that comes after this backslash is considered a special character. But what if you wanted the backslash as the value of the string? How the hell do you do that? Well, the answer is quite simple. The second backslash. Wait, oh yeah, this is Vim. The special backslash, right? Now you've preceded the backslash with the other backslash, and now it works. Now it's a valid string again, because you've now told it that you wanted to do a backslash. So it's crazy. What else? I'm not sure why it's not giving us everything. all at once. Let's go on to Reddit. What's Reddit saying? Yeah, there we go. I found it. I found a good option now. Right. Let's say we wanted let's say hello, right, and then /tab. My name is Eamon. This would give us hello, my name is Eamon, and then there's tabs in between all of these. So that's another example of a special character. So it's kind of like, rather than doing the tab yourself, you can program these in. Now, why have these special characters, and why not just kind of do the tabs yourself? Well, it just makes your life easier. It's like, why kind of make your code all complicated with these tabs when you can just do a special character? You've got, yeah, like you know, okay, let's just not that go. Like, I think you guys get the point. Next is, yeah, multi-line strings. I guess that's a good one. So I don't think I need Vim for this anymore. Let's just save and quit, and then exit. Remember, I'm sure we can just get back to this now. So let's just say Python, right? We're gonna get back into the interpreter, and then let's say I want to do a multi-line string, right? The way you do a multi-line string is, instead of doing one pair of double quotes, right, you can do 3. And remember what I said in the last episode and recapped in the beginning of this episode about certain things that you can do where it instigates a multi-line command within the Python interpreter. Well, this is another example. When you do a more similar to how, I think the example I used, similar to the example similar to, oh, that is interesting. Where, okay, all right, sorry, I'm just like figuring things out as we go. Right, multi-line string. So let's say, for instance, I told you that let's say def manage, and then, you know, right, this is a thing that allows you to write a multi-line command, return none, right? Let's say, for instance, and then if you wanted to do just x equals 4, right? If you compare that to what I did just a second ago, there are things that you can do that allows you to do multi-lines. Now, a multi-line string, when you invoke these 3 exclamation marks or these 3 quotation marks, you actually get that same instigation of multi-line string within Python. So you can write this, you can do this, you can actually do a free text. You can say, hi Andy, please, you know, see the file attached, kind regards, Eamon. And then you can even do some formatting, like Eamon Shake, HSBC analyst, you know, and then end the 3 apostrophe marks, and then you actually get the same thing returned. But interestingly, do you see how I did this multi-line string here, right? Which, you get it, it's a thing that allows you to do multi-line, but then when you return it in the interpreter, it returns it returns the raw format of the string. New line, new line, new line, new line, bunch of gibberish, new line, bunch of gibberish. Hi Andy, double new line, please see file, new line. It's all in one string, right? Whereas if I were to take this, right, and copy, and then quit, and then go back to tmux, and then do this, and then this, and then main.py, and then do this, and then do this, and print, and then this, 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 oh, and then this, and then this, 2, 3, 4, 5, this. It actually prints everything, and because I included these multi-line things, it actually includes, but it serves as a nice kind of designer type thing. But do you see how here, right, it does it natively from the interpreter, using the editor that I'm using, and then it prints it out nicely here, whereas in the interpreter it doesn't actually do that. Now I'm sure that there is some config variable that you can override that makes it print in a pretty format, but you know, for the purposes of just between you and me, like, that's something to bear in mind. If you're using the interpreter and you're relying on like the strings looking pretty, you might as well use an IDE. In fact, for most of your career, you'd probably be using an IDE such as this, as opposed to the interpreter. Like I said, the interpreter is just for messing about. To be honest, I might just stick to using the IDE moving forward. Yeah, I'm going to keep it like this. Actually, this is a good setup. So let's say we go back here, remove all of this. Cool. So you can concatenate strings if you do x is equal to x, y, z, and then y is equal to abc, right? And then you do print x plus y, right? And then run it. When you add one string to another string, it actually gives you the strings concatenated. You know, when you do the same thing to integers, let's say, you know, you did like, let's say a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 2, and then you do print a plus b, right? And then you sort of do that and then 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 that, right? 2 plus 1 is 3, right? Versus x plus y is x, y, z, a, b, c. So this is what I mean when it comes to Python's lexical structure. Depending on the data type, the various things that you type as part of Python's code behaves differently. So when you have a numeric data type and then the plus operator and then a second numeric data type, you're looking at a mathematical operation. Python looks at that piece of code and says, yep, this is maths we're dealing with. If you're doing a string, right, and then a plus symbol and then another string, Python looks at that and says, right, you want me to squish these together, and that's what's happening here. Let's play around with this concept. What if I wanted to do print a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and then what if I wanted to do x plus a, right, and print that, right? What's that going to give me? It gives me an error. Why? Because you're taking one thing and you're taking another. Like a numeric data type versus a string data type is just not going to work, because Python doesn't know what to do. It's crying. Look at it, it's crying, right? It doesn't know what it's going to do. You're going to add an integer and an integer. It's maths. If you add a string and a string, it's concatenation. If you're an integer and a string, it's just like, bro, it's like a French person speaking to a Spanish person. They don't understand each other on this, unless this will work. Trust me, this will work. If I do replace and then replace this with a multiplication, right? and then I quit, and then run that, look at that, right? It actually does that quite nicely. This works, right? What if I was to do times, and replace that with a b, and then do that, and then that. Do you see how XYZ happens twice, right? Let's break this down. Let's break this down. Let's say A is equal to 2, right? B is equal to A, B, C, right? A times B. You see what's going on here? Even though the addition between a numeric data type and a string data type doesn't work, the multiplication does, because Python sees that as, here is a string value, here is a number. You want me to duplicate this string by the amount of times that the integer is. Would this work with a float is the real question, right? We know that b is the string times 1.5. Now that doesn't work, because again, like, Python just doesn't know what to do with that. So it can do it with an integer, but just not with a float. You see what I'm getting at here? What's next? Yeah, so here's where they kind of mix and match some of this stuff. So if I do, you know, 3 times ABC plus do face, and then I do that, right? It kind of follows that BODMAS theory. This is really interesting. This is kind of where the lines between Python being used as a calculator and being used as a sort of string manipulator sort of come together. This is that crossing point, and this is where Python gets really interesting. This is like some real versatile, powerful stuff, right? You're kind of telling it to do, you know, we've discussed concatenation, right? And we've discussed multiplying, in other words, duplicating a string. And here we've got a situation where we're adding 2 strings, right? Concatenating 2 strings, but we're also including this multiplication feature, and we're saying, you know, what gets prioritized? Well, 3 times ABC, multiplication is typically prioritized in maths, and Python treats that the same way when it comes to dealing with string manipulation. 3 times ABC, right, gets prioritized over concatenating ABC with do face. And so what it will do is it will do ABC, do face, right? Let's play around with this BODMAS theory, because I could be wrong, right? It could be that 3 is just in the beginning. So what if I do this? 3 times do face, and then ABC in the middle here, right? Look at that. It prioritizes this 3 times do face, right? And it only does the ABC once. I've slapped 3 in the middle so that it's literally like love triangled between these 3 values, and it's like, is it going to pick ABC or is it going to pick do face? But it picks do face. That's the crux of the matter. So let's build upon this, right? Is this really following BODMAS logic? Well, there's only one way to find out. If we do 3 times, right, and then we wrap this in parentheses, right, BODMAS theory suggests that ABC is going to be concatenated with do face, and then that will be duplicated 3 times. So let's run that, and lo and behold, I'm correct. ABC do face, ABC do face, ABC do face 3 times. Powerful stuff. And this alone actually gives you so much to work with, because all of a sudden now you can print stuff, you can manipulate strings, you can duplicate strings, you can amend strings. Yeah, in terms of multi-line text, but without the triple quotes. So rather than having to do, let's go back to here, right? Oops. Let's go back to here and then do this and then this and this Oh, it's my cat, by the way. Oh. Po. Po. It's a cute little kitten. So basically, yeah, we've got a multi-line string. So remember how I said x equals and then a bunch of gibberish here, right? Maybe not here. They're here, right? And then we do this print x, right? And then we kind of run this gibberish, right? That kind of prints that, right? We know this already. What if I didn't want to do that? What if I wanted to print a multi-line string but without the triple? Well, one way we could do that is by wrapping the whole damn thing in parentheses, and then each line gets wrapped in its own pair of strings, right? So how would that look? That would look like this. Python accepts this. This works in Python. Let's just finish this off, right? That will work. But this is like a single string in multi-line, as opposed to an actual multi-line string, it seems, which is pretty cool, because that's actually really good. Because let's say, for instance, like, let's say you wanted to do some real concatenation. Let's say you wanted to do some real multi-line work, but without actually using the multi-line. Let's say you wanted to do this and then preface with this, and then prefix, do that, and then that, and then that, and then that, right? And then that, and then you get that multi-line. But why do it this way and not with the triple quotes or triple apostrophes? Well, one reason I can think of is, let's say you wanted this to be a formatted report. Let's say you wanted this to be, you know, mean temperature is equal to 456 degrees, and then we've got, you know, median equals and then standard deviation is equal to this, and then skewness is equal to this, and then kurtosis is equal to this, right? Let's say like you have some data that you just wanna, let's say you have some data that you just wanna like print, right? And the thing is, when it comes to multi-line, you can't add, we're gonna get into formatting strings, and that's like a whole separate thing. Yeah, I'm a horrible teacher, and I'm like already in 50 minutes, and I haven't even gone that far. Like I was meant to cover all of strings. I've got all this stuff. Like I haven't even gone through indexing and slicing strings, and like, and explaining that whole thing. And that's like such a fundamental part of strings, because that is not just strings. That's with like just working with data structures in general. Like I haven't even gotten there yet. It's already almost 50 minutes. What the hell? Okay. Yeah, let's just finish this up. I need to work on this. I need to work on my structures. I mean, if I plan these videos, it will probably do me some good. But I just don't plan these at all. Like I've got home and even my cat's looking confused. Okay. Oh my god, right. Let's do x equals Amen is an unorganized slob. right? So this is a string value, right? An example string value. And what if I, let's say I'm running a online safety software that looks at slurs and insults and wants to single them out. And let's say I have been given intel on the exact location of the word slob and I want to pick it out. Well, see, even my examples just overcomplicate things. This is X. Yeah. What if I wanted the first letter of X? Right? Strings are indexed in Python. Every single character has an ID associated with it, starting from 0 and going up to the total length of the string. So if I do X and then open square bracket 0, right, that's going to give you the first letter. If I do open square bracket 1, it will give you Y, and then it will give you this, and then it will give you this. Do you see, like, it goes through one by one through all of the initial sort of letters? So that's how you access a certain index of a string. If you want to get, you know, a specific letter in the string, that's how you identify it. What if I wanted the last one? The last one is you do -1, right? And that has a similar sort of structure to it. So here you get B, which is the last character. In fact, I believe, yeah, there you go. So if I just zoom in to this example here, let's do a full screen actually. No, not here. Let's do a full screen here. And I'll show you this concept. Whoops. So here, right, you see the example. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the reason why it ends at 6 is because 6 is exclusive. So there's 5 here, but if you wanted to get the 6th one, like if I, let's actually pull this up, right? Let's use this as an example. Let's say I wanted to do use Python as that example, right? Just to hammer this home, Python, right? And then I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and then I do this, this, and then let's say I wanted to do X6. That's going to give me an error. Yeah. Even though 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there are 6 elements here, but if I do X6, it actually cries and it tells you that the string index is out of range. What I should be doing is doing 5, because remember, it's 0 indexed. Python strings and just indexing in general within Python is 0 index. It starts from 0 and it ends with the length of the string -1. Yeah. Right, I'm almost at an hour and I'm getting tired, so yeah, I'll pick this up later.